Has Russia begun its own offensive operations? And is Ukraine's counteroffensive slowing? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's October 6th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, taking a look at the control map. One of the things that's interesting is that there are a number of changes, but not in Robtina and not outside of Staromayorsk, right? Marakivka, right? These are all areas where we've seen significant Ukrainian activity, but it seems like it's slowed in the past couple of days. And instead, we're looking at some changes here. First off, south of Donetsk city, you can see Russian forces going on the offensive and expanding the area that's at least contested, which says not that Russia is actually making advances, but instead that they are pushing and contesting more areas that were previously sort of low activity spots on the front. You can also see small Russian advances happening outside of this Marinka, North Marinka. Not of major tactical significance. The most significant part of this is that it shows Russian forces beginning to advance. But the real significant change is in a really unexpected place, north of Soledar, right? So well above Bakhmut, you can see that there are significant changes that have happened all along here. And we haven't seen really substantial changes to the fighting in this area since Russian forces threatened to encircle Ukrainian forces outside of Severodonetsk almost a year ago. And looking at all the changes here, first off, you can see Ukrainian forces liberating some areas to the north of Rozdalivka. This area is being much less contested, right? Them seizing up to this river here. But you can also see simultaneously less areas are being contested by Russia, right? They have a much narrower band of contested regions. But look here outside of Berestove, you can see Russian forces making a really broad advance kind of across a fairly wide area. Now, here's the thing. You may note that there's not even any towns here. And it's true. This is a very Russian way of doing things. And you may remember again from several months ago when the fighting was heavy here, there were reports that Russian PMCs were paid by the square kilometer advanced. And we may be seeing the return of those tactics because there is no significant terrain here. In fact, look, there's no roads here that Russia has advanced into. They're just pushing up a mountain. There's not really there's forested areas, but that's really it. They're not even much on this road to Vaminka. All this to say, I think that what we're seeing is Russian forces advancing to be able to plant a flag and say, yes, we are on offensive. We have retaken territory from the Ukrainians, but there's nothing here that looks to be of any particular value. It's not really establishing good fighting positions, flanking positions, control over a roadway. The closest you can get is maybe this road to Vaminka, but that's about it. And it's not really that significant in terms of closing the distance. Again, you could see this has a very narrow area of contestation. And then the Russians have expanded it somewhat outside of Berestove. I think that's the story here. When we look over at the combat map, you can see that's the story, right? You have some counterattacks, Russian counterattacks occurring outside of Robtina. You see outside of this Novodonetsk to the east of Staromayorsk Oruzane. You've got some Russian attacks outside of Volodar, as well as a smattering of attacks outside Donetsk, and in and around Bakhmut and Kurdyumivka. But what's fascinating is, again, you don't see the reported attacks here outside of Vasily. It doesn't mean they're not happening, just means that these are where the reported attacks are happening. But the number to take away from here is, again, 37. This is a ramping up of combat engagements. Now, remember, when Russia was at the peak of its own offensive efforts, it was looking at, you were looking at three digits. You were looking at 100 plus offensive actions in every 24 to 48 hour period. Now we're looking at about half that. So we're still seeing Russian forces kind of ramp up their offensive activities, but you are seeing that they are focusing on being able to get wins. I think that's a political consideration. They want to prove that they are taking territory at a faster rate than the Ukrainians are, and to achieve that political end, it means taking territory that the Ukrainians likely identify as being extremely low value. It's somewhat vetted. This is from a leak from a pro-Russian Telegram channel that claims that in the Oligar, which is their Volodar, section of what they call South Donetsk sector, they being the Russians, carried out attacks toward Vodiane and Zoltala Niva. They report, again, this is a pro-Russian telegram, says our troops have seized several enemy strongholds and are currently continuing their offensive. The enemy lost complete initiative approximately a week ago and have since shifted to a defensive posture. Now, there was never really large-scale attacks happening outside Vodiane or outside of Volodar, so that was never really a focus of Ukrainian offensive efforts. But it is interesting, if true, that Ukrainians in places are shifting to a defensive posture. That may be in response to the lack of stability, the lack of total information on the situation for aid, right? They may be looking and saying, hey, if there's a delay in U.S. aid as a result of the congressional shutdown and other political wranglings in D.C., we may need to fight at a slower burn rate. And that's likely why Ukraine may be pivoting to a defensive effort until they have some more confidence that they are going to be receiving arms and ammunition that can backfill anything used up in major offensive operations. So again, the takeaway here is the political is the military, right? This is something that his name is von Clausewitz pioneered, this idea that war is a political animal in its essence. And this is what I mean, right? The political realities dictate the realities on the battlefield. Anyway, guys, if you've not lived under a rock, you may know that I have launched Strike Gum. If you haven't picked some up already, literally, we have had thousands of people order. It is absolutely, the level of reorders have way exceeded my expectations, which is silly because it's great. I love it. It's got... Each one of these pieces has 90 milligrams of caffeine, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC, a powerful nootropic, and best of all, it has 0 sugar and just 5 calories a piece. The great thing is that it's 90 milligrams caffeine is as much as many leading energy drinks. So it literally costs less than an energy drink, has way less sugar, way fewer calories, no bloat, easy to carry, highly portable, and trust me, when you try it, just believe me, it hits different. I swear. There's a reason why we have an incredibly high order rate. People that try it love it. So go to strikegum.com and get yours today. Anyway, the only other stuff worth talking about a little bit is Putin is offering a bizarre explanation for Prigozhin's death. He claims that they must have gotten drunk on the plane and set off a hand grenade. Now, don't get me wrong. I will rarely attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity. Human beings' ability to make dumb mistakes, mine included, is pretty outstanding. But I'm going to go ahead and say that there aren't many 60-year-old experienced combat troops who are going to get drunk and play with grenades. They say, oh, they found hand grenade fragments. But guess what, guys? You know what? If your plane gets detonated by a missile, just about every other explosive in that plane is going to go off. And I have no doubt that there were hand grenades and firearms on his plane. There were basically hand grenades and firearms in every room in his house. So but this is sort of one of those preposterous things where it's like, yeah, you found grenade fragments, but did the grenades were they the thing that destroyed it? What other fragments did you find? A very bizarre explanation. Likely Putin understands this is bizarre. He's trying to muddle the information space where right now everybody knows who took out Prigozhin, and he's just trying to create a plausible deniability, and just to create more confusion over what really happened. This is important to prevent the mythologizing of Prigozhin, which is definitely happening. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. Thank you so much to our Colonel tier members of combatvetnews.com. Thank you so much to our numerous Lieutenant tier members. We appreciate all you guys so very much. And of course, thank you to all the members of Combat Vet News, really out here looking and helping us out. We really couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.